Mr. Schaefer, how long have you been imprisoned?
Since 1973.
And what are you accused of?
Well, do you mean what am I convicted of or what am I accused of? I'm accused of a lot more than I'm convicted of.
I know what, first, what are you accused of?
Well, I was accused of, originally accused of killing 34 women, but nobody has ever managed to come up with 34 names, jurisdictions, or anything else. It's a false accusation.
And what is your conviction?
I was convicted of killing 2 in Fort Pierce. I was never shown to be at the crime scene. There was never any link between me and the people that were killed, except the testimony of the mother of one of them.
Why do you sometimes supposedly called or been in touch with some newspaper telling them that you're the biggest killer of women in this century?
Who is that? That's what Robert Stone says. That's not a secret. That's on the front page of the Palm Beach Post newspaper on May the 13th, 1973. The Sunday paper, and that's what it says. That's not what I say. That's what Robert Stone said, and that's what the Palm Beach Post said. So if I say that, that's just parroting what they've said. I denied it. I have always denied it. But I'm not going to sit down here and say that I've never been accused of it. Robert Stone said that I was the #1 killer of women in this century. It's bullshit. He's a liar. You're a liar, Robert Stone.
And when did you start writing fiction?
Oh, you want to hear about the book? In 1963. I've been a writer since '63, published since '63 in fiction.
What was your intent in writing killer fiction?
Well, killer fiction, the intent. Well, when you watch television in today's world, there are all of these shows that show violence and sex, and they glamorize the criminal life, so to speak. Like the Ted Bundy, they've glamorized Ted Bundy and Henry Lucas, who you'll be speaking with, au-dessus. And these people are not to be glamorized. What they do is a very, very horrible thing, and I felt that if I wrote a book that portrayed what the reality of serial murder was, as opposed to the glamorization of it that people in the public see on television, that maybe somebody would be shocked enough to say that these people should not be glamorized. They should be condemned for what they're doing. Like au-dessus, he markets a barbecue sauce. He is a human cannibal. He killed people, cut them up, and ate them, and prepared a barbecue sauce, his own recipe, and put the barbecue sauce on them and cooked them. And today he's marketing his barbecue sauce. You can buy it through Sandra London. Now, that is horror beyond belief to me. How can anybody do something like that? But yet when you meet Tueur, you'll see he's kind of an affable guy, and he's full of smiles. And yet he's probably one of the most dangerous people on the face of the earth. You get on the wrong side of him. So killer fiction, having met many of these people, having met Bundy, and he's just the most famous one, but there's many other ones, and listening to these people talk to me just as we're talking, sort of like peers, and hearing the stories that they had to tell, I said, I ought to put these into a book format, into an anthology, and fictionalize them, and maybe I can get across the horror of what serial murder is all about.
But you think you've reached your goal as a writer?
A goal? No, it's not a goal. Killer fiction is just one book. And Beyond Killer Fiction we had so many favorable responses that I decided to write Beyond Killer Fiction, because people were writing and say, wow, this is so terrible, this is so disgusting, can I get some more? And I said, wow, this is really weird. You know, people are writing and they like it, they want more, and they're saying this is horrible. It's like one girl wrote, she says, I was so scared I couldn't sleep for 3 days. Do you have another book coming out? I said, well, you know, what's going on here? But at a certain point with Beyond Killer Fiction, I decided that the prose was appealing to that was hitting the public in the wrong way. It was appealing to people who have a morbid curiosity in that side of human nature, and it was failing to achieve what I wanted it to achieve, which was to cause people to have the insights as to what our society was doing with the sex and violence that's portrayed on television every day and being fed to the children, and they're being desensitized to how to relate to other people. They think that, bang, you get shot and you fall over and then you get up at the end of the show, you know, and that's not the way it really works. Everything, well, I shouldn't say everything, much of what you see on television shows man as a negative creature, where there's so many good things about man that could be on television, but they're not quite as interesting as the bad things. And I'd like to do something with my life, you know, that exemplifies the good as opposed to the bad. And I had hoped that Killer Fiction would have a good, would be something that would be good. And it's kind of a mixed bag, actually. Some people say, yeah, it's really good. And then others say, it's really disgusting. And I say, yeah, you're right, it is. It's really disgusting. Does it make you want to hate murder? Or does it make you want to do murder? Because if it makes you want to hate murder, then it's working. Does it really horrify you? Are you a little more cautious about picking up that hitchhiker? You girls, are you a little more cautious about who you pick up in the singles bar and take home? Like Mr. Goodbar, right? Diane Keaton did that very well, but do you get my drift? What I was trying to inject an awareness into people through that? They see The Deliberate Stranger and they see it as entertainment. But Ted was real. He was real, man. He'd kill you and laugh. He enjoyed it. And I could sit there, like when I'm sitting with you and talk about it, he relished it. And I'm thinking, wow, this guy, if only you could get his face on a camera when he's talking to me like this in the cage. They say.
Was he reliving all the time his murders?
Well, I wouldn't say all the time, but I took he told me that he had followed my case in the detective magazines, and that he had killed 2 girls in Washington as a copycat crime, so to speak, on the place in Jessup. And I think those were Ott and Naisland. And he would tell me that he took them up on the logging road and strangled them and had sex with their corpses and went back and had sex with their corpses and cut off their heads. Like, it's a tribute. And I'm thinking, you motherfuckers that wrote that. I said, here's the guy who read it, believed your bullshit, and went out and did something like this. And now, he's like bragging to me. It wasn't exactly a brag, it was like a tribute. How many did you get, really, Jerry? They said 34. Did they get all of them? Or do you have private graveyards? I said, Dad, I'm the best. What can I say to somebody like that, right? What can you say? You're left without any kind of rational response, because if you say, Ted, it's all bullshit, he's going to say, no, it's not. I know. And he knew, see, because he had lived it. And I hadn't lived it, except through what was written about me. And he was doing it based on what he had read. So he had 36. He wanted to be the best. And he was obsessed because they said I had 34. And he was afraid that I had ones that he didn't know about. See? And he was always trying to get me to say, no, that's all I got, 34, you know. But I never would say that. I discerned that he was concerned about the number. And it was my own way of needling him back by saying, I'm the best, Ted. You're going to fry, and I'm going to be here. And I'll be the best, just like they said. The number one. Mr. Stone had it all right. The best there ever was. And you're nothing. And he'd just go crazy. Can't be. And I'd take out my little thing from the Palm Beach Post. I said, read that, man. Cult. First page. Palm Beach Post. Cult. I'm the leader of the cult. There you go. Can't be. He was a sickie.